Anyone active in the hobby of Yu-Gi-Oh! Knows one thing: this game gets expensive. With the price of top decks landing anywhere from $200 to $500, a lot of duelists find themselves asking the same question: can you even compete on a budget? In this series, I plan on seeing how difficult it actually is to compete as a budget player. Starting with a $50 deck and limiting myself to $20 an episode, I'm going to buy, sell, and trade for cards to make the deck competitive and use it to top a large event. Using only my $20 allowance as well as any prizing from tournaments, I'm now competing on a budget. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of Competing on a Budget. If you've seen the first 2 episodes, you know things are going extremely well so far. I've managed to secure a 7-1 record through 2 different locals tournaments. Between prizing and some extremely lucky pack openings in episode 2, the deck upgrades are coming along a lot faster than anticipated. With that in mind, I decided to make a change in today's scheduled programming. Instead of going to a locals like I have been, I'm going to use this episode's $20 plus the cards we've pulled to get this deck list as close to final as possible and enter it into a remote regional this weekend. Let's take a look at what we spent our $20 on this episode and see how far we really can get competing on a budget. Alright guys, before I get into it, I spent the $20 budget on this episode. I want to go over some other pickups and trades that I've been able to make over the past week or two since the last episode came out. So as you know, we got 5th place at the last locals we went to. We got $20 in store credit. We picked up the Exorciser Magnifica. We needed the second one really badly. It's a huge pickup for the deck. You also saw in the last episode, we were able to trade away the QCR Nibiru that we pulled for a bunch of staples from the 25th anniversary rarity collection, as well as some cash. With that cash, we were able to get a copy of Typhon Sky Crisis. Typhon is a great Xyz monster to have in most extra decks, especially in an extra deck like ours where we have a lot of Xyz monsters already. Now on top of that, we were also able to sell the QCR Time Thief Redoer that we pulled in the last episode. We sold it for about $8. With that $8, I was able to pick up a copy of Gaga Cowboy, Baguska, and 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. This is definitely going to be in the extra deck. This is really great for if your plays get stopped and you just need to slow your opponent down. And Cowboy, obviously the attack boost, right? But seriously, time's a thing. We have a rank 4 engine, and Cowboy is something that you need to have in your extra deck. These are going to make the deck a lot stronger. What we're about to open is going to make it so that we're going to be able to compete at this regional. Now for what we spent the $20 budget on this episode, we got 2 copies of the new Fire King structure deck. This deck came out and Fire Kings immediately became a meta contender. Especially with a Sinful Spoils engine, this deck is very good. The reason that we got it is because it also came with a bunch of great staple reprints that we can put in our main and our side deck. Let's crack this open and take a look at the cards and see what we can actually put in our deck from these. So taking a look at the structure deck, we've got Sacred Fire King Garunix, one of the new cards that makes the deck go. Fire King High Avatar Kirin, another great card in the Fire King strategy. Rangaball, Sanctuary, the boss monster, if you will. This helps you destroy your opponent's cards on their turn. King Skyburn, and then Ponix. Obviously, if you're playing Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, you know what Ponix does. Great card to add into the deck. Fire King High King Garunix, Balrog, Yakasha. I'm going to go through the Fire King stuff pretty quickly. We're not going to use any of it in the Exorciser deck. We're just trying to get to the reprints. Sparks, Coach Captain, the Vanisher, Flame Emperor, a Kaiju. I mean, Kaijus can go into the side deck, especially in the right format. So that's a card that we can add to the pool. I don't think we're going to play it, but it's something we could use potentially. Blazing Mars, Colossus, Nefertiti's, Firestorm Guards, Spirit Flames, Fire Ferret, Hymnist, Alpha Master of Beasts. We pulled one of these in the 25th Rarity Collection. Again, potential sideboard card. Not sure that we're going to play it, but it's an option. Now this is what we came for. Each structure deck comes with a copy of Droll and Lockbird. In this format, Droll's pretty good. There's decks that lose to it. You run into Vanadium, you're going to wish you had this card. Now, yes, this does conflict with Shifter a little bit. If you happen to have both of them in your hand, it's not ideal, but you can still wait until your opponent adds a card to hand. You can activate Shifter. If they have no response, then you chain Droll, so both effects will go off. So that's going to go to the side deck for sure. Onslaught of the Fire King, Circle of the Fire King, Rekindling, Tenki, good reprint, Dark Hole, potential sideboard card, Herald of the Abyss. Again, another card that can go into the side deck. Great against Pearly. Flamebow Counter, Tribute, Judgments. This is one of the main reasons we got this. We not only lose to Nib, but we get blown out by Evenly Matched and Lightning Storm. So this is a card we want to side in when we know we're going to be going first. We have 2 structure decks. Now we have 2 copies of Judgment, 2 copies of Droll, 2 copies of Herald of the Abyss. A lot of great staple reprints in this structure deck. So not only can you get a deck that you could play in Fire Kings, but you also get to add to your staples collection. Infinite Impermanence. We needed 2 more. We only have 1. Now we have 2 through these 2 structure decks. Power Sing Stone, Coach King Giant Trainer. Do not believe there's anything in this extra deck that we would use. Fire King Island, and that's it. So we got what we came for. We now have 2 copies of Imperm to put into our main deck, 2 copies of Droll, 2 copies of Judgment to put into our side deck for sure, and then 2 copies of these cards that could potentially go into the side deck. So what we're going to do is we're going to put together what we think is going to be the ideal list to play at this remote regional this weekend. Then we're going to put the deck together based on what we have, head out to locals tonight, see if we can't pick up the last few cards that we need, and then we've got the regional this weekend. Alright guys, real quick update. Locals this week did get canceled. The weather's been a little crazy this time of year. We were able to get out to the shop last night though and meet up with a buddy of mine. We were able to trade that crossout designator we pulled in the last episode. We got a pretty good amount of cards for the deck. We were able to pick up 3 Forbidden Lances, the extra Droll we needed, the 3rd Judgment we needed, and we got a Feather Duster for the side deck. We're going to throw this into the deck and get ready for the tournament. Alright guys, we've got about 3 minutes until the tournament starts. It is 155 players today, 8 rounds, top 24 gets invites. I'm excited. Well, it's the first time I've done a regional qualifier remotely, so we'll see how it goes. High roll okay? 9. Alright, I'll take first. Draw, standby, main phase. I'm going to pass turn. Alright, just finished up round 1. We played against Labyrinth. Game 1 opened terribly. It was Shifter called by Lance, Ellis, Ash. Just passed turn, shifted, and they kind of had everything. Games 2 and 3 though, full combo game 2. Took that one. Game 3 opened up Lightning Storm and Bell, so I was able to clean up his board pretty easily. Alright, quick update. It is the end of round 3. We just 2-0'd Flunderies, so our current record is 2-1. We lost to Lab in round 2. 2 Lab matchups in a row. It's not ideal, but things are turning around. We've got 5 more rounds to go. I believe 6-2 is guaranteed an invite, and top 24, 5-3 is not going to be ideal, so let's see if we can keep from losing any more matches. Alright, 2-3, Dream's dead. It's been a very long afternoon, been playing for 6.5 hours, and I've only gotten through 5 rounds. I went ahead and dropped. The deck's performing well. I don't think the deck is really the problem. I had a couple key misplays that definitely cost me some matches. So we'll get back at it. I'm not sure when, but we'll get back at it and we'll make this work. Good morning. It's been a few days since the tournament. Been taking some time to reflect on it, kind of reflect on the challenge. So I just wanted to go over the rounds real quick. We ended up dropping after round 5 with 3 losses. X2 was guaranteed an invite. X3 was extremely iffy. It had been a pretty long day already, and I honestly was just a little downtrodden, didn't really want to continue playing. So round 1, we played against Labyrinth. We ended up doing really well in that matchup. We banished the right cards, took the match 2-1. Round 2 was against Labyrinth again. I was really hoping to dodge the Labyrinth matchup, and we weren't able to do that in the first 2 rounds. He was able to set D-barrier twice, once in game 2, once in game 3, and we just weren't able to outgrind at that point. Round 3, we went up against Flunderies, and he bricked both games really badly. It was a 10-minute match, 2-0. It's a feature, not a bug, right, of the deck. Then we went into round 4 and we played against Pearly Sprite. Now what was interesting about this matchup is he mannequin catted me after I evenly him game 1. We ended up drawing it. He went first, we got to evenly him, but the mannequin cat ended up summoning Christia off of my light monster. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be Jet or something, and that proved hard to get around. And then in game 3 of this match is really where things kind of fell apart for me. There was a really interesting board state where I had a Michaelis with a Banish live and a Martha on field. He had Sprind and Beaver with nothing in hand, nothing in the graveyard that he could do. I was terrified of SP Little Knight and preemptively banished the Sprind so that way he didn't have link material to go into SP Little Knight, forgetting that Sprind cannot be used as link material the turn that it is summoned. So he ended up going into Typhon, bouncing my Michaelis, attacking over the Martha. I had no cards left in hand. I was top decking, didn't top deck anything good, and we lost because of that. I would point to that as definitely the biggest mistake I made in the tournament the entire day. I played pretty well up until then. And then round 5, we played against a Melfi Sprite Mutant deck, which was interesting. He took game 1, I took game 2. Game 3 went into time, and I was not able to do a full combo on my first turn, which was turn 2 of the match. And he was just able to put up 8k. I mean, Sprite can OTK pretty well in time, so I would have lost either way. But after that match, again, I was X3, and I just did not feel like doing a long day for the rest of the afternoon, so I just called it a day, tried to not to get too worked up about it. For the challenge going forward, I'm in kind of a weird position with it because I wasn't expecting the deck building to go so quickly. We ended up pulling a lot of really good cards in our prize packs and in our second episode budget, the packs that we opened. We got a QCR Nib, we got a QCR Time Thief Redoer, and that allowed me to get the deck really, really close to what I would consider the final deck list for Exosister. So I'm still figuring out exactly where I'm going to go forward with the challenge. I obviously would like to take this deck to another bigger tournament and see if it could perform well. I feel really great about this deck list, honestly. The deck performed great through the tournament. I was the one who didn't perform as I should have. When you're playing a rogue deck, you can't afford to make any mistakes, and if you make even a single mistake, it's going to cost you the match. So I need to potentially just practice more, get more tournament play in with the deck so that way I don't make those types of mistakes. But I would at some point like to jump back into this challenge and take the deck to a bigger tournament, see if I can top with it, show that yes, a budget deck can do well, but for now I might take a little bit of a break and focus on some other stuff that I've been working on. What I'm going to do is show you the deck list real quick. We're just going to go over it really fast. It's nothing crazy, just some new non-engine that we were able to pick up. All right, like I said, we're just going to go over this deck list really quickly. I think this is a really good list. I think it's very close to what a final pure Exosister deck would look like. There were maybe some cards in the extra deck that we could add to give it a little bit more diversity, but other than that, I think the deck performed really well as it is. We were on 3 copies of Martha, obviously, best starter in the deck. We played 3 Ellis, needs to be there, go with Martha. We played 2 Stella, and we played 1 Sophia and 1 Irene. I know there's some deck lists that are cutting the Sophia and the Irene out. I like having it as Vadis targets, and sometimes the draw of Sophia works out. Continuing the Exosister engine, we played 3 copies of Pax. We played 2 Returnia and 1 Vadis. For the Spirit Monsters, we ended up playing 3 Aratama. I think this in conjunction with Stella puts you at 5 normal summons, which is where you want to be in most deck lists. To go with Aratama, we played 2 Sakitama. It's a nice extender to have, but you don't want to clog your hands too much with the spirit stuff. For the generic spells, we played 1 Called by the Grave for that Ash on Martha. We played 3 Pot of Prosperity, great consistency card, great for digging going second. And we main decked the 3 Forbidden Lances that we picked up. This is really nice because sometimes an imperm on your Aratama can just end your turn. It also comes up in some niche interactions against like Runic or Pearly when they try and target their own card with the trap that they have. For hand traps, we played 3 Dimension Shifter. Obviously, this is a great meta call. Hurts a lot of decks, doesn't hurt us at all. We played 3 Ash Blossoms, played 3 Imperms, and then I guess what you would consider like the spice is we were main decking 3 Evenly Matched. This came up a lot in game 1s where I lose the die roll, you're going second, and your opponent doesn't put up an Omni Negate, so you just kind of blow them out. There's not very many decks that are putting up a lot of Omni Negates right now, so I think maining Evenly Matched is pretty good, especially in a deck like this where you need blowout cards. Now for the extra deck, we were on 2 copies of Magnifica, 3 copies of Michaelis, 2 copies of Caspatel. We played 2 Gabrine and 2 Asophiel. These are cards that I would probably take down to a 1 of and maybe fit in some link monsters that could help pop floodgates or something along those lines. We just weren't able to pick any up. We played the 1 Zeus, the 1 Sky Crisis, 1 Gaga Cowboy, and 1 Baguska. The Baguska did come up in the tournament. They slowed me down. I went into Baguska and they ended up having to pass it back to me because they weren't able to play through it. So it's nice to have. Finally, for the side deck, we played 1 Feather Duster and 2 copies of Lightning Storm. These did come up in the first game against, or the first match against Lab. That Lightning Storm plus Bell ended up being able to blow out his board, and that's how we ended up winning. We played 3 copies of Nib. I think this is really good to have in the side deck right now. It didn't come up in the tournament, but obviously a very good generic hand trap. We played 3 copies of Bell. Put it in mostly for the Lab matchup, but you can put it against Runic and some other decks that it can help slow down. For going first, we played 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. you would like to go full combo and then protect from lightning storms or evenly matched against your board. And we played 3 copies of Droll Lockbird. That's the deck. Like I said, I feel really good about this list, and I'll probably end up taking it to another big tournament just to see if we can't end this series on a bang. I don't want to cut out too prematurely, but I appreciate everyone watching. I appreciate all the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, right? And keep an eye out for some new projects I might have coming up in the future. All right, guys, thanks.